Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another OCG show. It is Sunday, the 3rd of April, and we're just past April Fool's Day. Do you guys get up to anything hilarious on
April Fool's
Day?
Nah, to be honest, it passed me by.
Yeah?
I'm not a huge April Fooler. It isn't something that really, I don't know. It's never been.
I'm in the similar boat, to be honest. Easter's as much it's nothing really to me either. And April Fool's is just a bit stupid. So
I woke up after midday.
Yeah,
that's when the pranking stops, right? Midday.
Something like that.
Apparently, yeah. Well, obviously, we've got two familiar voices here. We've got Mr. Regan Harper to my right here.
Hey, how's everyone doing? I hope at least someone out there managed to have some fun on April Fool's Day, because it is kind of nice, and as far as you're given that permission on that day to go out and do whatever the fuck you like, and then just go at the end of it, go April Fools. Yeah. Everyone goes
It's kind of permission to be an asshole in a way.
Kind of. I mean, there's obviously limits.
Definitely.
You're not going to go out and
I feel like we don't really need I feel like we probably don't really need a day for that, though. You can do it any day and go, just a prank, bro, afterwards. That's fine. That works, right? That goes over well with everyone.
And we've got Mr. Balthazar Valentine on my left as well.
How's it?
So we'll just jump into what we've been playing. Regan,
you've
been jamming some sort of space opera, have you?
Yeah, exactly. I've mentioned a few times now that my big thing this year is basically gaming on a budget.
Yeah.
Because we've got travel coming up, big trip around Europe and things. And getting to Europe is quite expensive when you live at the arse end of the world.
This is true.
Yeah, so essentially I went down to JB Hi-Fi on the weekend, or when was it? Maybe it doesn't really matter when it was. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to just buy the cheapest game I can find that catches my attention, which was Mass Effect 2. Couldn't find a copy of Mass Effect 1. Never played the first one. Never played any of the Mass Effects, to be honest.
I don't think they released the first one physically for PS3. I think it's only a digital download through the PSN, because it came out after Mass Effect 2 for PS3, because Mass Effect was an Xbox exclusive for a long time.
Yeah, I see, there you go. It's like $4 or something on PlayStation Network.
Oh, beautiful.
Something ridiculous like that. But anyway, grabbed the actual disc version of it and started playing through that, and it's really cool. Have you guys played Mass Effect?
Yeah. I've played quite a bit of Mass Effect 1 back in the day. That was on Xbox 360, I think. And then I played a wee bit of Mass Effect 2, but my attention span waned, and I just never a couple of hours into it kind of thing. But it was really good. I did enjoy it a lot.
It reminds me very much of the sort of BioWare era of like Knights of the Old Republic and that kind of stuff, where it's all there's numbers going on in the background, but you don't see it kind of thing, and all the like UI and everything is quite very old school looking, and you're playing an old game. Visuals, I suppose, for as far as kind of that generation, it doesn't look awful or anything like that.
No.
But I've only literally had time to sit down and play it for maybe an hour or so.
Yep.
Had to watch a couple of YouTube videos to catch up on what actually happened in the first one. Turns out, like, not that much happened.
Did it have the little interactive comic or whatever at the start, where you could make your choices from the first game?
Yeah, really briefly. Well, not from the first game. But it asked you about your character, so it was like, where did you grow up, and what was the big event that you went through to cause your notoriety and things.
Yeah.
So essentially, I was a survivor that grew up on Earth, and there was a thing that happened, and everyone else died, and I survived.
So you're psychological scarred.
So big time, but came through. But it's kind of cool, because it means then later on, when I was being asked questions and things by NPCs, I was trying to kind of role play that. And I was like, well, what would a badass survivor say in this situation? And so that was cool. But it's a cool game. I am into it. It obviously feels real clunky like older games generally do nowadays. But I mean, I don't have too much to say on it other than that's what I've been playing.
Does Mass Effect 2 have the vehicle driving
bits
in it? That's number one, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
They got rid of it because people found it horribly tedious.
it was hilarious. There's a vehicle driving section in Mass Effect 1 where you go off onto a planet and you're kind of in a moon buggy type thing.
Okay.
But the physics are just insane. Like, you're made of rubber. Your car's just bouncing around everywhere, doing flips. I think there was I flew off into the sky at one point.
So worse than the physics in let's say Halo, with the vehicles in Halo? Because I always found those physics to be a pain in the butthole.
Probably, yeah, I'd say worse than those.
Yeah.
Worse than those, yeah. Very, very bouncy, strange. I think you could make your car jump at one point. Or you had the ability to make your car jump.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was odd. It was an odd addition.
Yeah, I'm having mixed memories. I think there was some driving in 2. Because I remember specifically, what was it, like the Hammerhead or the Mako or something in 1 that you drove
Mako,
around?
yeah.
And then in 2, it might not be in the core game, might have been in one of the expansions. You drive more of a hover vehicle. It doesn't have wheels. It's got 2 giant kind of hover jets on the side. And there's a lot of jumping sequences in that one, which is really weird because it hovers anyway. So.
Yeah.
But I think that's from 2, not 1.
I'll carry on playing and I'll let you guys know what happens. But I guess the idea was that because, Mass Effect, you hear a lot of people talking about it. I've even heard some people say that it's their favourite game.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was voted the best Xbox 360 game, Mass Effect 2, just in general.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big call. So...
Are you gonna go on to 3 as well?
Potentially. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only sort of been playing it for a little bit and, I might think it's shit.
Yeah.
But... And I guess it follows on to kind of hey, what are they going to do with this next one, Mass Effect Andromeda?
And did you guys actually see that some of that footage leaked from Mass Effect Andromeda?
Really?
Yeah, there's some test footage that's out there in the wild. It got pulled off YouTube by EA, so I think it's probably real.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I didn't see any footage, no, but I remember reading something where they pretty much said that you're going to play the role of the aliens in Andromeda, not the humans.
Oh, okay.
Possibly even racial decision making, so you can choose what alien race.
Cool.
Similar to choosing your kind of survivor background or whatever as a human, it's like you choose your planetary background and be a different alien based on that.
That sounds
which would
awesome.
be cool because I'd want to be one of the green dudes. I don't know the names.
The
ones that are kind of like locust frog.
Yeah, the frog dudes. Real buff.
Oh yeah, the massive ones, and they talk.
No, not that. Those are cool though. The grunts or whatever. The knots. I don't know. No, these ones are really slender. They're the assassins. You get one of them as a companion in 2. When you get him, you'll know he's really fucking kick-ass. I'm pretty sure he has dual SMGs and drops from a ceiling and just takes out a million dudes. I just want to be one of them because they just look cool.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed actually about it was I was going as I was playing through this, and again, it was only sort of 20 minutes, half an hour into the game, and I was like, I fucking know that voice. I swear to God, that's someone I recognise. Look up the cast list, and they hit some high-profile names during the voice acting. Right? Seth Green
was Joker, isn't he?
Yeah, and the infamous man is one of the Michael Douglas, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
True.
The elusive man?
Elusive man. That's the one. And so I was like, man, this must have been a big thing when it came.
I remember thinking for a while it was Martin Sheen. Because he looks a lot like him.
Yeah. Better him than Charlie.
Oh, maybe it was one of the Sheens. No, it wasn't Michael Douglas. It must have been maybe. What's the oldest Sheen?
Yeah, Martin Sheen. Charlie's
Sheen.
dad.
Yeah. Maybe it was Martin Sheen.
Okay.
But you were, a character, an actor of that ilk. I sort of lump them all into the same kind of thing. But yeah, big names.
That EA money, eh?
Oh yeah.
Just Ricketts not taking off. He's doing the money.
Hopefully,
making it rain.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, that comes through on the podcast appropriately.
Is that all you've been playing, man?
The only other thing I have had the time to dabble into was the brand new demo of Final Fantasy 15.
All right.
Platinum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why they chose that word because Balthazar, you said that you don't get a free platinum trophy for downloading it or anything.
And I thought I was confused because when I saw it on the internet and it said Final Fantasy 15 Platinum, I was like, Platinum Games? Are they involved in what?
That'd be cool if they did the combat.
Yeah. But no, apparently not.
But really cool. It's basically, it was very short. You'll get through it in 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Unless you take your time and really look around and look at things.
Yeah. And it sort of seemed just like just a showpiece. It was essentially the main character. His name's Noctis, and it was a quick run through some environments as Noctis in a dreamscape. I guess it's classic Final Fantasy trope. He's asleep and you're running through stuff. But I guess it sort of introduced the character and perhaps a little bit about what he's all about, like daddy issues and things.
Up to be a stripper. Change his name to Candy.
And a small kind of, I don't know whether the little dream companion that was in it was going to come back, but I guess it was a showcase to what it's going to look like, this physics involved, how it plays as far as the combat and things, and the way that, the switching between weapons and things were real basic, and showed sort of like you could easily switch between different weather, night and day and things like that, and so to see that there's going to be night cycle, day and night cycles and weather and all that kind of thing. Which is really cool. I liked it.
Yeah,
it's got me excited for what's to come. Very Kingdom Hearts. Very Kingdom Hearts in its battle, which is probably going to be obvious from watching the footage that we've already seen out there online.
I watched the trailers that they put out recently for Final Fantasy 15, and I like them, but I'm very confused as to what's going on, because most of the game appears to be driving around with a whole bunch of cool dudes in a car, and then running out of petrol.
Have you seen this most recent trailer where at the very end the car turns into the Batwing?
Yes, and it flies off the
road.
Pretty
cool. I saw that and I was like, ridiculous, hilarious.
I'm confused because it seems like, is half the game just driving around with a whole bunch of cool dudes like T-Birds from Greece or something?
Camping out with the cool dudes. Sitting around a fire,
making food. The car breaks down. I was like, I really want to play?
There was a demo.
There
was a demo prior to Platinum, which was only available if you purchased Type 0 HD remake called Duske, which was a much bigger demo, many hours of play. It showed kind of some story progression, some side questing, some hunt questing, which are essentially like, hey, this big thing's killing us all, want to go kill it, which was awesome. It was a behemoth. Got a summon in it, Ramu. And it shows that, while a lot of the trailers driving around, that seems to just be the main kind of transportation from area to area, and will play a big part because the world is presumably going to be massive. So driving is going to be a lot of your time, but there is so much to do, even in the in-between areas, because it seemed in Duske that the area you're in wasn't even an area, like it wasn't kind of a questing hub or a main scenario hub.
Right.
It was like a stop-off point, refueling your car, pretty much. And while you were there, you could go do all this other shit as well. And it looks like it's going to be massive. I guess the difference is Platinum was there as A, free demo to get people pumped who didn't get the remake, and B, to just kind of provide more of that narrative aspect of it, driving you through it, because Duske wasn't particularly narrative.
Was the demo that came with Type 0, just gave you a ticket to download it kind of thing?
Yeah.
Gave you a ticket?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. And it was, I think I told you a while ago that that demo is kind of what the purchase is for.
Yeah.
Type 0 is not. Not really worth much looking at from what I've seen. But I would actually, I would argue that most people probably got it for that demo. And that demo is a pretty expansive demo.
Yes.
It's the ground zeros of demos, basically. It's like what Hideo did with Metal Gear Solid 5, except it was actually a demo, not a game. Though you did kind of pay to get that, not Type 0. So
colour me intrigued, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I guess for you, I mean, you've never been a huge Final Fantasy player.
No, but then again, I gave up on them when they were turn-based.
Yeah.
So I've never played one that wasn't
which is
turn-based.
Still all of them to now, pretty much.
Really?
15 will be the first. No, I mean, technically 11 and 14 weren't turn-based, being MMOs. They were cooldown-based, which means you attack whenever you use a move, but all your moves are on cooldown, so you gotta, wait in between each one kind of thing.
Was 13 not turn-based?
I'm trying to remember what 13 was.
It's very linear.
It was a lot of things that were all negative, but I'm trying to remember.
Lots of corridors.
Lots of corridors until I think it was chapter 13 or something, where the game finally, 20 hours in, went open world, and you're like, what are you doing? You can't just give it to us at the end.
It always does that, though.
What was 13's combat? It was bars. It was kind of turn-based, but there was a segmented bar, I think. It was a more combined turn-based where you could take multiple turns at once. So you didn't have to attack, then wait, then attack, then wait. You could attack whenever you had enough of your bar filled up to do an attack, or you could wait for your bar to fill up more and then execute several attacks in a row. So, or you could just sit there and never attack. Like, your enemies didn't wait for you to do things for them to respond and do things. They would just continuously attack you, and you responded based on your gauges. And I think you didn't control your party members, maybe. I believe that they may have
They
just
were set up using
operated on
essentially
their own.
like, you know, you could go in and say, I want you to be attacking, and
That's what they do.
yeah, and you could set up, I can't remember what they called them, but it was kind of like you'd set up just little macros that they would follow.
Yeah,
It's
pretty much.
okay.
Think like Dragon Age Origins behavioural. You know how you could set those behavioural modifiers for everything? You'd pretty much do that for your companions,
okay.
except nowhere near as intensive as Origins was. Like, you couldn't set percentages and be like, if enemy health below 10%.
You pretty much had to be an
cut.
SGO developer to
Yeah, I was gonna say,
use that game.
I loved that stuff. I spent hours in that stuff in
Well,
Origins.
My favourite RPG of the last like 5 years was the South Park Stick of Truth. That was by far, so good. I can't wait for the Fractured Butthole. It's going to be excellent. So Regan, is that you?
That's pretty
about
much
you?
me.
Yeah?
Yep, that's me.
Okay. Well, I've only been playing one thing, so I'll just briefly talk about that. And we kind of touched on them last week as well. My foray into the Uncharted collection will be complete at the end of what I've been playing now, which is Uncharted 3.
How far through it are you?
Just past the second spider section, wherein you throw the flaming torches into the braziers and ward off the spiders.
Yeah.
And the bald Jason Statham character
Yep.
essentially gets mind controlled with a little dart in his neck and,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
There was actually a weird little. I remember playing through that game and finding when that hit him, and there was the fight scene, and I played it on Crushing, so that fight scene took me a fucking long time to get through.
That'd be brutal.
After that, there was a weird tension in the air with those characters, and I was like, "Is that guy going to end up being evil?"
Yeah. That's what I thought first time I played it as well.
And then it.
Because
I'm gonna just say it didn't come to fruition. Nothing like he didn't end up being evil, but yeah, it was a weird. They set that up oddly.
There's definitely some asshole behaviour from Nate Drake, especially like after that happens, and they kind of realise that something happened to him. He's like, "Oh, sorry, man," and Nate Drake just like pushes him out of the way.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, man, like you know, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
I mean, he did just try to choke him.
Yeah,
but
I'd be pretty pissed off but you know, to be fair, I'd be like, dude, you were tripping on, you know.
It seems a bit. It was a weirdly out of character for Nate Drake, who's usually just like, you know, friends with everyone kind of thing. He's like, oh no, don't worry, man. Let's go jump over
in
this
the last
cliff.
5 minutes.
Yeah, let's all go, you know, clamber up some rocks together, and you'll block where I'm trying to get to, and I won't be able to get there, and that'll be good
and
fun.
we'll have a good laugh.
Yeah. But no, really liking it. The shooting is just honed like completely from 1 to 2 to 3. It's just the shooting is
steps
great.
up, eh?
The 3 definitely suffers from too many enemies once again, which 1 suffered from. Just constant wait. There's just too many. Like if they just cut down the amount of enemies that they send after you. Because at points I'm just like, again, like there's more.
Yeah, there was just one. I remember one bit in Uncharted 3 when I played it on Crushing back on PS3. It's kind of like a central area on the boat when you're there, and there's a giant chandelier. This is just what I remember of the room, and I think some pianos. And you need to, just that room, the number of enemies that keep coming in, and I believe you fight your way down to the bottom of the area, and then they start coming in the doors where you came in from, so then you turn around and you fight your way back up, and snipers start coming in, and guys with those pistoles start coming in, and oh my god, playing that on Crushing.
Yeah, took me a long time to get through that room too. And then you get through all of it, and then right at the end, when you think you've cleared out the whole room,
one dude with a sawn off will just pop up next to you and one-shot you, and you start the whole room again.
That wonderful Arabic riff will play, and you know that you're gone.
Exactly. Oh my god, I know the exact room too. Because at the start, right at the start of that room, he goes, "I better do this quietly." And you can only get the first 2 or 3 guys, and then someone will see you, and you have to shoot your way through it.
That's essentially Uncharted 3 in a nutshell. I've come across like 4 stealth sections now where I've taken out like 4 guys, and then someone will see me, and all hell will break loose, and I'm just like, how do you? Is it possible? Like, I really want if there's like some sort of award for like taking out all the dudes. that'd be cool. But is it even possible? I don't think so.
I don't know, not from what I can tell, because I tried hard. I tried real hard, especially in that room where it was prompted and set up, and like I better do this stealthily, and I can only get the first 2 or 3, and then someone would be like, oh, he's over there, and then it's just all fun.
You reach a point, I think, where there's 2 guys above you, one on either side, in these kind of overlook areas, and so you can only take out kind of the first 2 guys, and then you need to move further forwards, and as soon as you get past that point, one of them will see you, but if you try to take them out first, you can't. You have to shoot them because they're up there. And as soon as you fire your gun, they all see you. You do literally reach a point where I'm pretty sure you can't progress without being.
I've also noticed that I'm hyper aware of the Naughty Dog-isms this time around in Uncharted 3. Anytime like you're running towards the camera, those like platforming sections, I'm like, Crash Bandicoot, there's Crash Bandicoot, there it is again. Like, when that building that catches on fire, like quite near the start that you're in, and it's all collapsing and you're on the roof, and I'm just like, I recognise this from Crash 1. Like, I was just hyper aware of all those little like Naughty Dog nuances now, but I still love, still my favourite developer. But yeah, Uncharted 3, a wee bit bloated, in its amount of enemies, and sometimes some platforming sections as well. But overall, excellent game.
I still really enjoyed it, playing it back to back with 2.
Yes.
Purely because I think the word that the actual developers use is like the bombasticity. The way that it just carries on getting bigger and bigger. And the third one, like, I think it's really good in that, like, everything is like that scene where the whole kind of like temple is falling down, and bits and pieces of the temple are falling away on like this massive tide of sand. It's all right towards the end.
Oh yes.
And it's just over the top. It's so over the top. But it's fantastic.
It's like Uncharted 2 towards the end with that temple and is it Shambhala, I think, and that's all crumbling and stuff, and it's so fantastic. I love it to death, and I can't wait for Uncharted 4 because I've been watching all those making of videos. Kind of wish I hadn't, because it does show a lot, but
I've been staring
far out. It just looks incredible way.
And the thing I'm excited about it is what they've learnt from the Last of Us.
Yes,
bringing that
very
stuff
much
across,
so,
and the pace, because the pacing in The Last of Us and just taking the time to have those cool little moments and things was so good. And if they can strike the balance nicely between that and the crazy over the top shit that they do in Uncharted.
But with like a really human underline, like the relationship between Nate and Sam, his brother, is going to be really interesting to watch that that develop and stuff. And if they can take what they learned from The Last of Us in terms of character development and human relationships, it's going to be excellent. Like I've decided it's a day one buy for me. I'm not going to do my usual holdout. I'm going to pay whatever. I've just come to that realization.
I think, given that they're your favorite developer, that's okay.
I think it's fine. Oh, one more thing I want to mention about Uncharted 3. I was also hyper aware after you mentioned it how Nate gets all touchy feely in Uncharted 3. He just decides to touch everything as he's moving
absolutely.
around.
He's so over animated. It's insane.
I think in Uncharted 3 they've done some animations so there's a bit more collision detection with Nate, the character model, and his environment. So if you sprint around and you like hit into a pillar, he like kind of like stumbles around and like. But it's also like what Bluepoint have done. They've kind of made the movement a bit more glidey than the original Uncharted. So you're like it's kind of like you're on ice or something, and you're like stumbling around and he's like heading into pillars like
he looks like he's drunk most of the time. And you'll be he'll be walking through a door that's well wide enough to walk through without having to like hold yourself up, and he'll walk through and he'll hands out to either side and just kind of
it's like a blind man feeling his way around.
He is like a blind man. He's like a drunk blind man. And it's crazy, or like an autistic drunk blind man who just has to touch everything.
Feel everything.
It's amazing, and even the animation for his run in Uncharted 3 looks a little bit ridiculous. He looks kind of a bit bow-legged. And he's kind of like loping along, and it's like, dude,
he goes from 1 to 11 and just immediately when you push forward on the stick, he just like goes to that gangly sprint kind of thing.
It's a little bit over the top. And by a little bit I mean a lot over the top. But it's fun. When you notice it and you start to see it, and it kind of becomes it becomes quite funny.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's still the second best one in the series. I'd say it goes 2, 3, 1.
I even given my gripes about the animation, I think 3 was probably my favorite.
You still like 3 the most. Yeah.
I don't know whether it was because that was the only one that I played on the hardest difficulty, and I enjoyed thrashing my way through it when it was really hard. But yeah, there were just some really cool scenes, like jumping out of the plane.
Yeah,
it's that big thing that flies. Yeah, the plane. That kind of stuff. It's just like, what can't that guy survive? Throw himself into the just most ridiculous situations and still be fine.
And there's really, really cool little things as well, like with the scope where you have to sort of find the star in the sky. You're looking through the scope.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen that in another. Like, they let you scan the whole sky to find the star. And it would, take you, a couple of minutes or something like that, but it's just, it doesn't guide you in the direction of it. You just you've got to use your brain and look for this constellation. And be like, there it is. And then, it will zoom in on it and you'll be like, yes, that was me. I did that.
Yeah, I found them some stars.
Yeah.
It was like real life.
But that's what I've been playing. But I'll finish that up probably, I don't know, in the next couple of days, I would imagine, and bring on Uncharted 4.
Absolutely.
Balthazar.
Playing a fair bit.
Yeah.
Had this past week off work, so been thrashing a fair few games. Mostly Nintendo stuff again. A lot of Zeldas. So I finished Twilight Princess.
Nice. Yeah.
So I don't have to add that to my list of games I started and didn't finish.
How long would that be?
That's a hard one.
Just trying to gauge how long a Zelda game is.
This, for starters, isn't necessarily a typical Zelda game in terms of being able to judge length for it. It's a lot more linear than certainly my recollection of past Zelda games I've played. The open world is not really there. Like, there's in between dungeons, there is the world that you ride through, but it certainly feels like there's a lot less within the world to do. Like, there's not really any random events you can encounter or anything. There's one or two, but they almost all are actually required for story progression anyway, so at some point you will be led to them. So the world certainly feels a lot less alive, a lot more linear. So I'd say, I don't know, I'm terrible with game times, maybe 15 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that was with an almost completionist run through. Like, I didn't use a guide or anything, so I will have missed stuff. I know I didn't get all the pieces of heart, so I was like 2 hearts short at the end of what I assume the maximum can be, because it's typically 2 bars. So 20 hearts, 10 on top, 10 underneath.
Oh, okay.
And I was at like 18, I think.
Not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was really good though. You guys probably know I picked it up because, I picked it up because Amiibo. But the reason why I was really keen to play Twilight Princess was because it's kind of the underdog of the Zelda franchise, or the hated stepchild of the Zelda franchise, where fans just don't like it, and I don't know why. After finishing it, I really do not know why. It's got one of the best dungeon designs in Zelda games, full stop. There's some really cool stuff in there. I'm thinking moments like when you get the spinner, which is basically a Beyblade that you ride on. And you kind of ride along these rails and you hop between them to go really fast up and down places. And it's like a roller coaster sequence where you got to hop at the right times to stay on the rails and not fall down. There's a boss fight that uses that mechanic where you've got to kind of ride around in circles to avoid his minions and then jump off the rail to hit him in the spine. So his spine collapses and you basically paralyze him.
Wow.
There's some really cool usage of items you get within dungeons in boss encounters. And I'll compare it directly to a game that I picked up and started playing after finishing Twilight Princess, because I've already broke my resolution, so fuck it, let's keep going. So I picked up the Wind Waker HD remake for Wii U.
Nice.
And I've been playing that as well. Also a phenomenal game. I mean, it's really hard to not just use the words outstanding, phenomenal, amazing when you're just talking about playing a Zelda game, full stop. They're all like lovingly mastercrafted pieces of freaking Nintendo art. They're all great, but very different reasons. Wind Waker's got that more open world feel to it that Twilight Princess didn't. Again, a lot of the stuff, as I get closer to the end, I feel like a lot of it was alluded to be optional open world content that actually when I get towards the end I'm like, so those things that I picked up earlier that I thought I was just going off and doing, actually I needed to get them by this point in the game kind of thing.
Oh,
so it's like
right.
I did them way ahead of when I needed to, but actually it seems that I did need to by this point.
Yep.
But because the world feels more open, it definitely feels like there's a lot more going on in it that is optional and that I am choosing to do. So I've just finished the Earth and Wind temples in it, which is maybe 3/4 to 4/5 of the way through the game. Restored the power to, the power to repel evil to the Master Sword, so now I'm ready to go fight Ganondorf. And yeah, it's not... Twilight Princess is better than it for dungeon design, item usage against bosses in dungeons and everything, but Wind Waker is vastly superior in terms of just progression, exploration of the world and progression of the narrative through that, even if it is false, that illusion of freedom within the world. So I think definitely both great games. I know that Wind Waker is one that a lot of people loved. A lot of people put it up there as one of their favourite Zelda games.
Yep.
And I can see why it is great, but I can't see why Twilight Princess is down. Like, I definitely think it does a lot of stuff specifically around dungeons infinitely better than Wind Waker does them.
So are Zelda games predominantly based around dungeons, are they? Like, you're underground quite a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're not necessarily underground, but you're in temples or dungeons. So dungeon in Zelda doesn't necessarily mean, going into an underground dungeon. A dungeon is just, I guess, they're more temples. I just use dungeons as an MMO player because that's typically what that sort of content is called. But yeah, they're temples. It's predominantly based around going into temples to get items or specific narrative required items to progress. So the story itself is through kind of the open world exploration, but you'll always reach a point where it's like, now you've got to go to these 3 areas to get the pieces of the Triforce.
What I think is cool about Zelda is that, like, usually I would complain about that being a kind of a plot kind of device in most games. Like we complain about sort of like fetch quests in games.
Yeah.
But it happens in Zelda and you're like,
Zelda's
no,
a fetch quest, man. The entire game. It's fetch the items so you can go fetch the girl from Ganon. That's the game.
Yeah, totally. But it's like, just because it's like, oh, go on, you can do that, Zelda.
Yeah.
You can totally get away with it. It's because you always get the same stuff as well. Like, that's another thing. You'd be like, oh, the hook shot again, the bow again. And it's like, no, it's great. Like, I wonder when I'm going to get the hook shot in this game. I wonder if I'm going to get like in Twilight Princess, you get the dual hook shots where you get a second one later on and then you can just kind of swing between shit, be like, and in the air, change target and shoot. You're basically Spider-Man. It's great.
So is each temple, dungeon, or whatever, based around a certain mechanic or a certain...
So typically, you'll get an item within it, and that item will be what you mainly use to traverse the terrain and get to the boss, and then the boss will need that item to beat them. For example, usually when you get the bow, the boss of that temple will have a giant eye. I could say it'll have a weak point. You have to shoot with the bow. It's pretty much always a giant eye. They'll have an eye. You have to hit the eye with the bow, and then they'll fall down.
It's convenient, right? Imagine going through the bow kind of thing, and then you get there, and it's got like no eyes. And what am I?
It's not always necessarily an eye on the face. Like Goma's got a giant eye on the top of its head, I think. In Majora's Mask, there's a dude who, again, eye on the top of his head. Like, it's just somewhere on his body. There'll be a giant eye, and you shoot the eye with the bow, and then you hit him a lot with your sword. And yeah, I mean, that's the other game I'm playing, Majora's Mask on 3DS. Just in between, sort of when I go to bed or what have you. Again, just fun. I would say it almost is a perfect example of, even though it's much older than those two, combining the great things from both of those games. The temple design is awesome and the open world is awesome as well. Majora's Mask, I think, is still, I mean, it's always been one of my favorites, so replaying it on 3DS is great. It holds up.
That one's really dark in comparison to...
It is. Like, it's not immediately obvious on the surface, but it's just stuff like when you put on the Deku Scrub mask and you just scream out in pain as your entire body is transformed into this thing. Like, every time he puts it on, it's not like it's something that, just the first time he does it. Every time he puts the mask on, he's like, and he's like grabbing his head and like morphing, and he's in clear agony as he transforms. Like, it's quite horrific. And yeah, a lot of the enemies in it are really twisted, and it's really cool. I did like Majora's Mask. But yeah, a lot of Zelda, pretty much.
Sounds like pretty much most of them except Ocarina you've been playing.
Yeah, I haven't been playing Ocarina of Time because I played that only a couple of years ago, and it didn't hold up. when I played it a couple of years ago, it didn't hold up. So I imagine that now it's going to hold up even less. It's a fan favorite. It's not my favorite. It's down towards the bottom, to be honest, for me, of Zelda games.
Was Ocarina of Time the first 3D?
I want to say yes.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it's just that kind of thing. It's kind of like with Final Fantasy players. Everyone loves Final Fantasy VII, and it's probably a lot to do with nostalgia.
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. I think Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, is to Zelda fans what the dubbing versus subbing debate to anime fans is. As in, stupid, overprotective weeaboo fucks love it in Japanese with subtitles because that's the only real way to watch it. But people who just want to consume it because they enjoy the content prefer dubbed because they prefer to not have to read when they're watching TV.
Right.
It's the same exact thing. They're ridiculously into the original, Ocarina of Time, and that's it. They're just like, this is it. This is. And they refuse to open their eyes and acknowledge that actually there are better advancements in Zelda games now. If you stop being overprotective and pretending that Zelda is your thing and only yours, and you have the right to say it's, whatever. Like, it's just, people are going to love what they love, but I think that people who are obsessing over Ocarina of Time need to maybe actually go into the others with an open mind.
Don't blinded by nostalgia.
And just replay some of the others.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing where I'm looking forward to the one that's touted as coming out soon, is like the open world
one.
Yeah, that'll be really cool. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, here's a question for you. If you were to recommend any single Zelda game to someone who's like anticipating this new one coming up, which one would you recommend?
Well, I'd have to say, what are you looking forward to about the new one?
Question. I guess getting to know what Zelda's all about.
That's what I'm into as well. A mix of puzzles and platforming. I'm a big fan of that.
I would say for you, Abe, because I know you already have a 3DS, I'd recommend Majora's Mask.
Okay.
Because you already have the 3DS, you can already play it, and as I said, it's not quite as good as Wind Waker at open world. It's not quite as good at Twilight Princess in dungeon design and everything. But it's a damn good combination of the two, and it's a damn good insight into how a good Zelda game plays out in both dungeon design and that world exploration.
Yeah.
It's also then got that added mechanic of time, where the whole game is based on a 3-day cycle. So at the end of 3 days, the world ends. And you have the ability to rewind time back to the start of the 3 days, slow down the progression of time, speed up, and basically throughout that 3-day cycle, people go on with their lives, becoming increasingly desperate as it reaches the end of the world. So at specific times throughout that cycle, specific events trigger, and you need to do them in the right order to get items, to then maybe go back in time to have an item when someone else at an earlier point needed it. And there's a lot of, for you, I recommend this one for you because there's a lot of planning and thought and memory, and like the puzzle aspect is dialed up to 11 in Majora's Mask. Because you've not only got that immediate puzzle presented to you to progress, but then you've also got all these other sub-puzzles throughout just the world itself, and then kind of getting the right items for the right point in time and going forwards and back and manipulating that. So I definitely recommend Majora's Mask to you.
Very cool.
For you, Regan.
I love it. You're so like into these games that you can okay, tell me about you and your character. Yeah. I'll recommend you a Zelda game.
I'm by no means an expert at them. I mean, until recently, I'd only played the kind of isometric top-down classic Zelda games. Those are my jam. I've just been getting into the 3D ones and thrashing. The only one I had played for was Ocarina and Majora's Mask. So they were both on N64, which was before the Wii U, the only Nintendo console I owned. It is a tough one. I want to say Twilight Princess, because it's got one of the most interesting stories. Wind Waker has a really cool twist in it, but Twilight Princess it's got a lot in it narratively as well as dungeon-wise that I think would appeal to you, whereas the other ones, the narrative's not there. Like you said, they're fetch quests. There's cool little additions every now and again. Like, for example, in Wind Waker, there's this cool point where you find out you are in Hyrule. You're in Hyrule the whole time. It was just flooded a long time ago, and you are a new generation of Hylians born. Basically, a bunch of chosen ones were moved to mountaintops before the flood happened to continue life, and so all the islands you're going to are actually the peaks of the mountains from Hyrule, and there are a few points where you get to go below the water and you see the entire of Hyrule as you're used to it from every other Zelda game. So there's cool twists in every game where it's like, look, this is actually this, and they do all tie together really nicely. But I think Twilight Princess.
There you go.
For you, it's also got the cool mechanic of turning into a wolf. So, that's fun.
Sounds great.
Shall I bring up the other thing?
Yeah, keep going, man. Keep going.
Gear VR.
Just get into it.
Yeah, so I've been playing some VR this past week.
Now we're talking.
So Hannah got a new phone because her old one broke. She got a Galaxy Note 5 because she's an early adopter of VR. I'm not. I potentially am now because we own a VR device in the house and I'm super enthused by it. It's really cool. We got a Gear VR for the Galaxy Note 5.
So basically $150.
Yeah, from JB.
Yep.
And essentially all it is a plastic sheath into which you slot the phone.
Yeah, with all these, it's quite thick, sits on your head, I guess it's got the kind of, the stuff in it to tell head direction and movement and turning and everything.
So it's not just the giant.
Yeah, no, it's not literally like a phone case that straps to your head. Like there's quite a considerable thickness to it of a whole load of stuff between your head and the phone, which presumably has all the gears to acknowledge movement and direction and everything.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. So I mean, obviously, this is going to be the least powerful of all the VR sets coming out because the VR headset itself doesn't do anything. It detects the movement and stuff like that, but your phone is the processor. Your phone is what's playing the game.
Yeah.
So it's by far going to be the least powerful, but even so, it feels so far ahead of what we experienced in the Oculus. So far ahead, like even graphically. That's what got me, was that graphically it looked miles ahead of the DK2 we had to play around with. It's just so good. It's really hard to even kind of launch into it because it's something that without experiencing it,
it's hard.
You can't really get a feeling. But for example, one of the first things I did was a roller coaster because you did the roller coaster on the thing. And I have to say something that probably made it better than when you did it is that because I could do it in a set up space, I could basically put a swivel chair out in the middle of an empty space and with the roller coaster spin and turn and links. There's no wires or anything, completely wireless headset, so I could just move with it. And it felt really cool. Just that my brain got tricked. That sense of movement, when I took it off, I felt a bit dizzy afterwards. I was like, I don't know if I just spun like 3 times really quickly and then went, I'm not sure what I was doing in the real world, but I felt a bit dizzy afterwards, which was really cool.
Did your stomach like drop out?
It didn't, no. The drops didn't get me at all. That's the weird part. The climbs got me. Because when it climbed, I'd lean right back and look up, like when you're in a roller coaster and it kind of pushes you back. So I'd lean right back in the chair and look up. And the climbs, I'd subconsciously feel that building tension as you're reaching top. But then when we actually peaked and then started the drop, I didn't feel anything, which I thought was really weird. So like, my brain was tricked by the overall feeling. But then when it actually happened, I was like, I'm not actually moving. So I didn't get that payoff. But I got the
there's going to be
tension
it's like VR is going to start like this massive kind of movement of just videos online of like people being videoed in a VR kind of thing. So it'd just be like, imagine like a video of Ben sitting or Balthazar sitting in an office chair in the middle of his living room, just going.
I was playing
spinning around.
I played a Goosebumps game.
Oh, excellent!
It was really cool. So basically, you look at the ground to move. Like there are set points, and you look at that point where there's footprints, and you move to it, and you have to go around the house and collect pages to trap the doll. Was it Chappie or Clappy?
Slappy.
You have to catch them inside a book. So you go around and you gather pages to complete the book, and then you go back and catch them. And I only got through to level 2 because it got me a bit. I gotta say, like, it's one of those things where you can do it a level at a time, but considering it's Goosebumps, I do not appreciate being pursued through my house by zombies. Like, I don't. It's not. Like, it's really cool. It's that thing where I didn't actually see what it looked like completely, because I guess it's made for people who aren't necessarily gamers, like that stage of VR. It's just made as an experience. So I never got caught, and I always managed to hide, but just seeing kind of the legs under the desk walking past as I'm hiding under the desk and hearing the sounds, it's like, just get out. Get out the room. I want to continue my search.
So when you say you're hiding under the desk, were you literally crouched down?
No. So there's one button on the headset which is a touch device, and it acknowledges horizontal and vertical movement, so you can do a bunch of stuff with that to navigate things. But effectively, you just tap it and you would crouch.
Right.
So I kind of moved to the desk and then crouch and move under it. And yeah, that was really cool. Watched a few just short films. First thing, they all look like they were made by DreamWorks. The animation of these things is incredible. I don't know who's doing all these animated shorts for VR, but they are all sublime. Like, they look so good.
Wow.
But yeah, there's some really cool ones out there. A lot of ones that in kind of description, I'm so gay, but when you actually experience them, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, there was one that before I did it, because everything I played, Hannah played it first because it's hers, and she would I was like, you play with it till you're done, then I'll have a look. But after everything she did, she was like, now you do it. And I had to do the same thing, because she was just so excited to share it, kind of thing. I'm like, what's this one? She's like, you're an emoji inside a phone being sent to someone else's phone. I was like, it's the gayest fucking thing. Like, really cool. Actually really cool. It was like a little short about.
And these are they, just so I'm clear in in conceptualizing this in my mind, you just downloading these off the
download it off the so when you install the software required to put it in the headset, it automatically adds the Oculus store. So that's another thing. The Gear VR is actually made by Oculus. So that's why it's kind of out so quickly, is because it's not out quickly. They just only kind of advertised it and marketed it after the Oculus was basically done.
Right.
But yeah, that one was really cool. You look around, you're in kind of a theater, and you look around, and there's all the other emojis sitting there waiting for them to be selected. And then when they're selected, this beam of light comes down and sucks them up and sends them off to the other person's phone, and you get sent through space. And yeah, it's cool. It sounds really dumb, but it was cool. When you get there, I think it was a breakup between two people. But then when you arrive in her phone, you kind of see out the screen, and then the door knocks, and he's there, and then they get back together. And weird,
Spoilers.
all DreamWorks animation quality stuff. Like, I really want to know who's making these, because they're really good looking. There was one I did called Colossus, which was cool if you want that scale of Shadow of the Colossus stuff, because it's just like a little Inuit fellow who's kind of spearfishing, I think, and then this giant Colossus walks around the corner, and he runs and hides in a cave, and you're kind of looking up at it, and this thing's huge. There's just a cool kind of scale one where you got to feel that. There's just so much on it. I haven't played any real games on it. I know that Hannah has the EVE Online game. Like, what is it? It's like EVE. It's some, I assume, on rails shooter or something made by those people. And it sounds cool. And apparently it looks really cool, but I haven't had a go at that one yet. But yeah, it works really well. Like I said, it seems so much better than the Oculus, but probably just because the demos we tried on the DK2 were like really old and not kind of telling of what modern Oculus programs are like.
And it's actually affordable.
And this is affordable, yeah. Like, I'd say the most you'd be paying is $200. I mean, obviously you need the phone as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't notice any stuttering or anything with a Note 5. So if you've got a Note, you could potentially go like a Note 4 or something, like one below, but then you may get some form of stuttering.
And I think it works with all Galaxy phones, right? Like, it's
I mean, as long as it's not a mini, I'd assume it works. So I mean, because I think like the S series ones are the same size as the Galaxy Notes. They're just, so as long as it's not a mini. Actually, yours is a bit smaller. Yours is an S3, isn't it? But I think like the S6 and 7 and stuff are all that larger, square size and everything.
Interesting. Yeah, because I guess my question with it is always going to be around like, cool. So you can have some awesome experiences in there, and that's awesome. You know, that's great. You can, and you're like, oh my god, I'm transported, and et cetera, et cetera. But as far as it becoming a real kind of gaming experience, you know, how is that going to work? But I guess with the Note, you know, you can, with the Gear VR, you're a little bit confined because it's, you know, like we talked about a while ago, it's not necessarily angled towards gamers specifically.
Yeah. I'd say it's not. It's more of a multimedia kind of experience device. One of the really cool things on it as well is just the media watching apps in it that, you know, don't have kind of VR interactions. Like, I mean, if you turn your head, you look away from the screen, but effectively you are sitting in your private lounge in a ski resort or something. And it's like, if you don't have a big TV, you use that and it looks like you have like a 100-inch TV, and it actually looks freaking huge. It looks like you're sitting in a movie theater.
That's
kind of thing.
that's pretty awesome.
And so it's like that may be it. Like maybe you don't have a big TV, or you're in a flat where you share a TV with multiple other people. You want to watch your own TV. You just put on headphones, put this thing on, bam, you're in a movie theater on your own private movie theater, $150 instead of $1,000 on a TV of the same size. Or whatever.
I wonder if they'll start releasing movies like that. So like you don't have to go to the theater. You can just jump on the Oculus kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be. I want to say they would, because I haven't seen anything yet. I didn't play around with it too much, but there was a movie-going experience app, and I noticed a lot of stuff, like there wasn't anything on it yet. Like I'm not sure if it was that they hadn't put anything on or they hadn't worked out the rights stuff for it properly yet. But under coming soon, it was basically movies that are actually coming soon to theaters.
Yeah, they are currently trialing a service like that in the States, which like video on demand type thing, where you can buy a film that's currently in the cinema at home. I think it's about $50.
Oh yeah.
You can buy it to watch.
So you actually buy the film rather than just
you have it.
Yeah.
But only through that app or whatever.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
It's interesting. I feel like I would probably use that service more if it was like just a theatre thing. Like maybe there's a theatre company out there that wants to like create their own VR app, and it's just like going to the cinema and you pay maybe cinema prices rather than actually buying the film itself.
You know what's going to happen, right? Other people are going to turn up in your experience, and then they're going to talk.
They'll sit in front of you and they'll be taller. Like
their me or whatever the equivalent is will be wearing a large hat. You won't be able to see shit.
You can hear Jaffers being rolled down the stairs.
We're all going to translate into the VR world, but all those little
you'll get the people who that'll be their weekend plans. Like, what are you going to do this weekend? I'm going to go see Batman v Superman, but I'm not going to go watch it. I'm just going to piss off everyone else who's there in the virtual audience, because there's no virtual bellboys to come kick me out. Like, I'm there, so I'm just going to sit there and ruin it for everyone else.
If you talk, you get electrocuted. That's what that's what I would implement.
It just suddenly flashes really bright and blinds you for like 5 minutes.
Just the epilepsy.
It's really interesting though. The more we talk about the VR thing, the more I'm like, man, what about this? What about that?
Yeah, it's and definitely. Gear VR is an experience that's out there, definitely separate from the others. It's not geared towards the same people as the Oculus and the PlayStation VR and the Vive and everything. Like, I'd say totally different audiences. It's super casual. It is people who are maybe play a couple of games on their phones, but who mostly just want to consume media in a different way.
Could be a gateway drug into more serious VR.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I think that's about all we've been playing. Have you got anything else? Is it about it?
Played way too much Final Fantasy 14.
So
with a week off, I did all my dailies every day.
Congratulations.
So just a wee bit of news. Tiny wee bit. The old Final Fantasy 15 date came out, obviously.
There was like a big conference thing, right?
There was.
That's
where the trailer I saw was screened, because I originally watched a cam of it. I didn't realise it was a cam at the time. I was like, this quality's really bad. Like, they released this?
That's weird, because they just live streamed it professionally, so you could have just got the VOD at any time and watched it.
Oh, really?
So it's weird that someone thought to record it with a camera from the audience and then upload it when the actual properly uploaded
it's clearly
one was
getting
there the
some
whole
views,
time. Well, is it retaining viewership though, or is it like they watch the first 10 seconds and then go, well, this isn't the real one?
Still a view, man. Still a view.
I watched the whole trailer with that. I was like, the quality's really bad. I can kind of see what's going on. It was like 480p or something. I was like, oh, what's going on? What's up with this? But what was the release date?
I want to say September 30th.
September.
I totally wrote.
So it could be
on the document. Final Fantasy 15 release date confirmed, and then didn't write down the release date.
I want to say it's the end of September 30th.
Would that, because PSVR is coming out October? Would they want to burn those not burn bridges with Sony, but go up and?
I don't think it would clash at all, because again, I think they're completely different audiences. Yeah. I think people who want Final Fantasy 15 want Final Fantasy 15, and people who want PlayStation VR want PlayStation VR. There'll be people out there who want both, but they'll just get one and then get the other later, kind of thing.
Or just plan ahead. with your money.
just safe.
Yeah.
Bringing up PlayStation VR briefly, has anyone seen in the PlayStation Network store the trailer they have on the homepage for PlayStation
I haven't
VR?
watched it, no.
So I watched it because I was like, I wonder if they're going to show kind of what titles and stuff are going to be with it. They did. There were some cool ones there. But I'm not saying Sony's racist, but I will point out that the kind of the mech shooter game and everything played by some
sports,
some white girl
the
or whatever,
mech
some other like sportsy game played by the white guy. Then it cuts to footage of the game where you steal stuff from museums and stuff, and it's the black guy playing it and having a blast. And I was like, come on, Sony. Really? Wow. You probably don't realize what you've done, but it's very in your face. It's like white people will enjoy competitive games. Black people will enjoy virtually robbing stores.
Oh my God.
I was like, wow, just wow.
I'm going to have to go watch that when I get home.
Yeah, it's the homepage on the PlayStation Store.
I wonder if surely they'd be getting complaint emails about that.
I don't know, but it's funny. I saw it and was like, well, I want to see if the media does pick up on this. I'm sure Reddit's already on it.
Yeah. The only other bit of news I wanted to briefly touch on is there was quite substantial Nintendo NX things that came out this, not official, but some things.
Controller.
There was some controller, someone's knocked up a rough sketch or the blueprints or kind of thing of the controller.
Is it the actual controller? Because I did see something online where a guy they'd mocked up a controller. And
no, it's not the actual controller. And this could still be completely bollocks.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's getting to the point where I'm starting to believe these leaks a bit more as it gets closer to the time as well. So the things that I heard about the NX was that it's going to be more powerful than the PlayStation 4.
Wow.
More powerful than the Xbox One as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be disc-based. Everyone was thinking it was going to be cartridge-based or something like that. It was going to be disc-based. It was going to be...
if it was good.
Back to, blowing in the cartridge.
Yeah. You know how we were really behind with the Wii and the Wii U when we launched it? Well, this time we've made the most powerful system yet, blow everything out the water, but you can only store 250 megs of data on the storage media that we've chosen for it.
One high-res model of like a table. It's going to be on a Blu-ray disc, I believe, which is the 25 gig.
Yeah.
25 gig capacity. So that's more than enough for a Nintendo game, right? Crazy.
You would hope.
Yeah.
That's like you can get Mario, the experience, and it's just every Mario game ever released.
Yeah. That'd be so
the thing is, if they create a technology like this, our idea of what a Nintendo game could be completely changed. Because, in a way, Nintendo's been restricted by their mediums and their consoles and
definitely.
things.
I also heard that it won't be backwards compatible with the Wii U. That was another thing that was mentioned or chucked around. Because of that fact, we could speculate that they're redoing all their architecture and the way things work. For that fact alone, really, why else would they make it not backwards compatible unless they're building everything from the ground up and actually making it, consumer friendly and work properly along the lines with PlayStation Network and Xbox Live and stuff like that.
Unless or they want to get on the bandwagon of releasing HD remakes.
Go ahead. I'd be well keen on that. Nintendo HD remakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. There's going to be more. There's definitely going to be more popping up because I reckon they'll probably do their announcement before E3. They always have a Nintendo Direct around E3, but I reckon it's going to be before E3.
I'm quite excited for it.
I tell you what, I'm excited for is if they do, beat PlayStation and Xbox in terms of power of their machine, seeing some of the Nintendo franchises come back to Nintendo that migrated. For example, Final Fantasy was originally a Nintendo franchise that migrated to Sony because they saw the potential of the PlayStation 1 over the N64 kind of thing. I think it'd be great to see stuff coming back. Imagine if they did a Final Fantasy 15 Definitive Edition on the Nintendo NX and it was higher frame rate, better resolution and everything. Who the hell would see that one coming? The biggest game of a console, of a specific console, now moving over to a Nintendo console looking better. That would blow people's minds.
That really
Everyone would be like, what is happening with the world?
I will buy one. Nintendo, if you're listening to this and you do that, or you do something similar to that I'll buy your console. We'll do it.
Make sure you include the Gay Bulge DLC and then on there. You put it on that. There's EV's doing an exclusive pre-order bonus for Final Fantasy 15. You get a spear called the Gay Bulge, which is a relic from Final Fantasy 14. I just love that it's a like teal, gold, and purple spear called the Gay Bulge. It's
like that's how it's spelled.
Gaebulg.
Oh.
So it's slightly off, but it's there. Like, how else do you pronounce that? So, Nintendo's got to be all up on that too.
There's definitely, there's always some homoeroticism in Final Fantasy games, so it's to be expected. Really.
And 15 has the largest male cast yet, so.
I wonder how, and the whole NX thing, it really intrigues me. It's going to be really cool to see how it plays out, and that, I think since PlayStation and Xbox have been the biggest consumer consoles, what are they gonna do? Are they just gonna let their hardware speak for itself, or have they got specific plans on how they're gonna market and sort of break down those walls, or do they even care?
Here's my hopes. My hopes on it are that we're going to have 3 distinctly different gaming experiences. So right now we got competitors in the market, obviously. A while ago, Sony, they've probably kind of retracted the statement since, especially with stuff like the PS4K, all but being announced. They said that they were going to move to mobile after the PS4, that they saw no future in TV-based console gaming, and that they were going to develop mobile devices for mobile gaming that you could essentially screen share with TVs, still get that experience, but that they weren't going to do consoles anymore. Microsoft's been doing this undying Xbox thing, moving closer and closer towards just a computer, pretty much, to the extent that now they're releasing, they've got release dates for most of the Xbox One exclusive games coming to the Windows 10 store and stuff. My hope is that the Xbox is going to die, not because I hate the Xbox, but because I think that would be smart for them to let it stop with the Xbox One and focus back on their efforts on PC. Because lately they've been saying they want a market share in gaming on PC again, because Steam has pretty much all of it. Yeah. And I think that if they do want that, they need to go for that. You can't half-ass that. PC gamers are settled on Steam. You need to 100% go for that if you want a piece of that pie. Sony focus on mobile, Nintendo take their throne back for TV gaming. I would love to see that happen. No more console wars, no more, debating over what's better, who has what. Literally just, if you want couch-based TV gaming, Nintendo. If you want a game on the go, Sony. If you want to have a PC, Microsoft.
You're saying this because you're still upset about potentially Sony releasing the 4.5?
No, because I am still upset about it. I think it's stupid.
So does this mean you never, because I believe your words in the previous podcast, and I can look this up.
Yeah, no, they would be, I will never buy another. And I wouldn't buy one of their portable devices either, because even though Nintendo would be TV based, I can't imagine them ever stopping with their handhelds, because they've always been the king of handheld devices.
Nintendo.
Yeah. So I just get whatever the next DS is or whatever. And if they stop, I don't think there'll be one. I think it'll be the console. Have you seen that? Because you've seen mock-ups of the controller and stuff. How it's also got the screen on it, and it's got its own battery life that's longer than controller battery lives and stuff. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be, because the tablet with the Wii U, you can already just go tap a button on it and put the game from the TV purely on the tablet to just play there. So I feel like the NX will also be a handheld in and of its own. You can just play any of the games from the box purely on the handheld. So I would, if they release the 4.5, yes, that does also include never purchasing future Sony portable devices. I'm just...
Bold. Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it, as more of a divergence and how the different companies are kind of seeing the future of it. You got any thoughts on it, Dave?
I'm just watching Nintendo, watching what they do, because they, no matter what you think they're going to do, they always do something completely just insane and completely out of the form of reality. But intrigued, worried. I'd rather Sony doesn't go to portable. I've never owned a Sony portable device, and I
don't think they were planning on doing portable in the modern sense of portable. I think they were literally just doing phones and tablets, but making phones and tablets that had the power of consoles that could actually play real games on them. So
it doesn't appeal to me. I want another PlayStation.
Yeah.
Sony, just give me another PlayStation.
Do you want another PlayStation though, or do you want a just better console that can play all the games you love? Because it sounds like that's what Nintendo's potentially doing.
Will it play all the games that I love though? I mean, it's
Metal Gear was on PlayStation for a while, on Nintendo for a while as well. They had that GameCube remake, so I'm set. Like, if Square go to Nintendo and Hideo goes to Nintendo, I'm done. That's it.
Hideo's been
Nintendo for life.
in Sony's pocket for a wee bit now, but I just please don't stop, Sony. I love PlayStation. It's been in my life for so long. I don't want you to.
For the players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike everyone else.
You know, cool. Do your handhelds. That's great. But you know, hey, give me a console.
Yeah. I do love my PS4 a lot. It's I don't know. I'm weighing up whether it's the best console I've ever owned. PlayStation 2 was pretty damn good as well.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, the 2 was cool.
2 was like solid as a rock. You could like erect the foundations of a house with that thing. Like, you know, it's been dropped, whatever. My PS2 just still goes absolutely fine. The disc tray's a bit slow coming out.
I don't think that's age. I think it always was just like.
Yeah, it makes a pretty horrendous noise, like it's struggling to breathe.
Yeah.
But it still works absolutely fine. And on my Naughty Dog binge, I'm going to go back and purchase some of the Jak 2 and Jak 3.
Nice.
Plow on through the.
You're going to get the trilogy.
I
trilogy.
I don't have a PS3, so I can't play it. Yeah.
What a shame.
No, it's going to be interesting. We'll definitely do more on the NX as E3 gets closer, because there's going to be a lot more to talk about when that comes around. That's definitely the thing I'm most intrigued about for the upcoming E3 and Gamescom and stuff like that. There's obviously going to be a lot more E3 rumors concerning Rockstar and various other things, but we'll talk about that later on because it's not.
Oh man,
there's so many things.
Let's not get into
there's
that.
There's a lot of stuff to talk about there, but so. We'll jump into a couple of discussion topics. There's not too many here. But as you mentioned at the start of the episode, April Fool's has been... I didn't really know this was a thing, but games companies do get in on it and do some interesting things every year. This year, one in particular that I noticed was our good friends CD Projekt Red, Witcher 3 developers and Cyberpunk developers.
Personal friends.
Yeah, good personal friends.
Yeah, good working relationship with them closely.
Absolutely. I mean, I've talked about their games a few times.
Our Polish friends at CDPR.
Yeah.
So what they did, there's an excellent video online about this. They released a trailer for Roach DLC. Now, Roach DLC was they said they were going to add in the upcoming Blood and Wine expansion. They were going to give Roach voice acting. They also said that, you know how Roach does all those insane physics glitches and stuff, and he's notorious for doing that. They made this amazing making of video where it shows them mocapping all those glitches. So there's these two people in a horse suit, and one half of them will be like on top of the other half, and they'll be like, it like looks like they actually made those. Like, that's brilliant. It's so good. I absolutely love their sense of humor, and that was the best thing I've seen to come.
I love it that they can point out a pretty relatively big bug in their game and make such light of it, because I'm sure they could have fixed that, like all Roach's craziness.
Oh, absolutely, but that's what gives it half its charm, right?
Yeah. I love Roach for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes he will spawn in the weirdest fucking places. And there was that one you had where he was like inside and in, sitting at the table looking like he was drinking beer with the guys.
I adore The Witcher 3 for that sort of stuff. Non-game breaking bugs are just the best.
Yeah, cool.
I absolutely love them. I wouldn't have it any other way. But that was the best sort of April Fool's thing I saw in terms of gaming. Did you guys notice anything?
I didn't really get a chance on April the 1st to have a look into anything like that. Did you see anything else?
Nothing huge. I mean, normally most years it's cool to see kind of the fake announcements and the fake news that comes out. And I didn't really notice anything big of that this year. I noticed Square did a kind of amusing thing where I didn't actually check it out to see if they genuinely released an app for it, but they announced releasing an app called ChocoGo. A chocobo-based ride-sharing app where you could book a chocobo to come pick you up and take you to your destination. I thought that was really funny, but I didn't check. I should have to see if they actually released an app for it just to have. I was so disappointed. I logged in for the first time in a long time. I logged into Guild Wars 2 because ArenaNet have always been great with April Fools. It's just something they've gotten into. I remember with Guild Wars 1 a year where they turned every single player model in the game into Chuck Norris and replaced everyone's skills with roundhouse kick, and it was madness. It was awesome. So I was like, I wonder what they've done this year. Nothing. Nothing. There was nothing. They brought back Super Adventure Box, which was an April Fool's joke from a few years ago that people really got into and made them turn it into a real thing. So it was originally an April Fool's joke where effectively they made sort of Zelda in Guild Wars. It was a separate area you went into, and when you went there, this dude who created the box was inside it wearing a dress, being like, oh no, I've been captured by the evil lord, come save me. And it was effectively like a bunch of jumping puzzles and old school. It was like graphically kind of that pixel art, but in 3D, kind of like Minecraft. And it was this retro platformer gaming thing where as you went through, you didn't have your weapons or anything from the real world. You'd pick stuff up as you went through. So you start off with just a stick and you could hit stuff with the stick. And then you get like the slingshot. And each time you finished a world, you get a new heart. So your life gauge would extend. And it was really cool. And people got really into it. And then after April Fool's Day, it went away. ArenaNet realized everyone loved it, so they started bringing it back yearly, and they just brought it back again this year. And I was like, well, it's a shame because it's really cool, but it's not in the spirit of what they always used to do, where they do a cool, like some years you log in and you'd think shit was broken, and then you'd realize, oh, it's April Fool's Day. Like, I remember one where everything was sepia tinted and there was crackling all coming down the screen, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I didn't realize it was April Fool's Day. And then my character was stuck with his arms out in like a T-pose. I was like, what is he doing? And then when I ran, I realized he went, meow, meow. And then I turned around and looked at his head, and he was wearing aviator goggles on his head. And I'm like, he's like a World War II plane. So it's like all sepia and crackling, like old school movie footage. And when he would turn, like he would kind of lean to the side when he turned to run around going, I was just applying. And if you logged out after midday or whatever and logged back in, like everything was back to normal. And I miss things like that. And I think it's the kind of April Fool's thing you only get as an MMO gamer, because they can just chuck it in for a few hours and then pull it out. I don't believe Final Fantasy actually did anything. I was logged into 14 and I don't think it did anything. They had that announcement about the app on the homepage, but I don't think that actually did anything in the game. Yeah, and there was no big news this year, no fake news about no Half-Life 3 announcement or anything.
No, Last Guardian's already been announced, so now you can't really do anything with that anymore.
I tell you what though, bringing up Last Guardian and kind of circling back a bit to that Platinum demo, I got a real Last Guardian vibe from the carbuncle design.
Oh yeah,
what's a carbuncle?
The dream guide, effectively. So if you look it up in the PlayStation Store, just the picture for the actual demo download, it looked to me like a creature from that world, like a very similar aesthetic design. I mean, not at all like it in appearance, but just the overall design and the look of and the texture of the fur and everything looked like it was straight out of Last
Guardian.
Basically,
like a small dog with big ears,
snow fox,
and a tiny little horn.
Oh.
Yeah. And weirdly enough, he communicates with you by sending you text messages.
Yeah.
Wow. You never know what's coming with those games, eh? You never know.
But it makes sense. It's weird because at the beginning of it, you get this phone, and he's like, looks at it, and then a message pops up, and it turns out, for the rest of the demo, it's just your carbuncle.
Those little fox things texting you.
Yeah. It's the strangest thing, but it works. Yeah.
Wow, that's that's Final Fantasy for you. Yeah. So that's going to be a day one purchase for both of you guys.
Oh, I didn't bring this up because I
Probably will be for me.
I'll always be avidly in the discussion and everything, and I think it looks fantastic, and I'm really pumped to play it. But when big releases like this come up, we don't so much toss a coin. We have an adult discussion, Hannah and I, around who's going to buy it, and she gets Final Fantasy 15. So I'm actually not going to be able to play it until she's finished it.
It could be 100 hours plus.
Could. So I'm going to be watching it lovingly from afar. The game, not my mouth.
I sense a series coming on there. Hannah plays Final Fantasy 15.
While I sit jaded beside her and make comments about how she's doing it wrong.
Point of view, Cam, from
totally. Backseat
and it's one of those things where we could buy 2 copies, but that kind of defeats the purpose of us kind of with these big titles making the decision who gets it, because if you're sitting side by side playing the same thing, it's like one of you pulls ahead, one of you looks across the other screen and sees something they'd rather not have seen before they got to it or whatever, and it just opens up a whole shitstorm. It can just be it's out of respect. I wouldn't want her to get, like, if she was super into Metal Gear Solid and got 5 at the same time as me and pulled ahead, I would have been so pissed off. And the thing is, like, she's the Final Fantasy fan out of the two of us. Like, I love the games and I play them all, but she's a Final Fantasy gamer. I'm an appreciator and player of good games.
Right.
She loves JRPGs. So she gets Final Fantasy 15. And since it looks like a good game, I'm also really keen to play it.
Yep.
But she gets priority because it's her series kind of thing.
That's
Except, I mean, while she's the JRPG fan, however, Kingdom Hearts is mine. That was the compromise. I get Kingdom Hearts if she gets Final Fantasy 15.
It's like custody of the children.
Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely.
I get Kingdom Hearts 3 in exchange for Final Fantasy 15.
I think I'll get it on release. I mean, there's a couple games this year that I think I will do that with. One of them probably being Uncharted. One of them probably being that. And if there's an announcement from maybe Red Dead Redemption,
not coming out this year.
Probably
I
not.
can guarantee. I can pretty much.
I'm only saying that because I
guarantee
want it to. Just let me have.
It'll be. It'll be definitely be
Yeah.
next year. There will be a teaser at the C3.
Yeah.
You can quote me on that.
There we go. It'll be. We'll put that in the description of the video. There will be.
But again, more on that at a later
future,
date. Yeah. Not too late, but we will definitely have more on that, and probably even have maybe a whole episode dedicated to E3 speculations, rumors, our wants, our don't wants. It's gonna be a lot of fun because E3 has been rapidly declining, and I've been recently going back and watching video montages of the worst of E3, and it's like 90% Ubisoft. It's 90% Ubisoft, 10% Konami.
Oh, right.
There's some hilarious Konami stuff in there as well. But anyway, have you guys got anything else you want to discuss?
Well, I was just going to say, with the day one purchase 15, were you also planning on watching the movie or the anime?
Oh yeah, of course.
There's an
meant to
anime?
be
They're doing a prequel anime and movie.
Wow. Okay.
It seems like they're really going all out with this game, eh? Like it's a sort of like almost like a multimedia type.
What was it they said about the 7 remake announcement, how we can dig back a bit to old Square announcements where they said they weren't going to remake 7 until they felt they had a Final Fantasy game better than 7 gave them a reason to need to remake 7 and put it back in the limelight. So it definitely feels like 15 is their all-in game that they feel is going to beat everyone's current favourite.
Could it be the Final Fantasy?
Oh, I don't think so.
No. The anime episode 1's already up. It's free to watch. You can watch the whole series when it's out for free at some website, YouTube probably.
Check it out at some website.com.
And then there's going to be a movie.
Like a theatrical release?
I doubt theatrical, to be honest.
So it's not going to be like Advent Children type stuff?
It looks like, if you've seen the trailer for it, it looks like Advent Children, but slightly better graphically. And I'm sure it's going to be similar length and same dealie. I believe it's the dad, King Calum or whatever. And it's his story before Noctis kind of... I mean, I think Noctis is in it, but he's... it's the reason why King Calum's such a shit dad. Probably. The movie. Shit parenting the movie.
Yeah, we're really getting a daddy issues type vibe from this game.
This movie will probably be the thing that makes you feel like Noctis is a whiny bitch in the game. That's often what I find when they do those alternate perspective things. You'll probably be like, look, King Calum's out saving the fucking world and you're just bitching about how he wasn't there to play football with you as a kid. What a bitch. I hope that's not what this movie does, because if it is, it could be disastrous for... main character relations in Final Fantasy 15.
I'll definitely check it out if I've got a bit of time. And that's, I think, what they're probably going to be doing pretty well with this release is, there's all of this stuff that's coming out.
Yeah.
They've had so much time to work on it that there's no reason why you wouldn't just dive in and really sort of absorb all of this stuff, especially if you're excited about the game, which I am. So,
Yeah. Sounds. I'll be watching it again from afar. Probably more watching you guys and your reactions to it. Trying to understand the insane story and just crazy mishmash of things that is Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But yeah, intrigued. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think there's anything else we've got to discuss this week, unless you guys have any. Any thoughts or feelings?
I think I'm good. Yep.
No? All good? All right, that about wraps us up for this week, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. And we'll be back in a fortnight with some more yarns, and probably after that, some E3 chat. So look forward to that.
Cue exit music. Bye.